Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's dive into a story from a simpler time, circa 2002, when OP was working a gig at a carnival manning the inflatable slide. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Inflatable slide plus Karen. I was working a weekend gig at a carnival/outdoor festival circa 2002. My station for the day was working the large inflatable slide, steps going up on the right side and the slide on the left with a pad on the bottom. Basically, my job was to keep the line moving smoothly with minimal injuries. When a kid was at the top, I'd send the next up. This would give the child plenty of time to move off the landing zone once they got to the bottom and free from any possible danger from the next participant. Everything was running fine until Karen showed up. Her child was about 7 and minded my instructions well, but when he reached the bottom, he began jumping up and down. No problem, he had a few seconds before the next child reached the top, but I asked him kindly to come down. He made his way over until Karen told him he could keep jumping. I gave it a few more seconds until the next child was ready to come down and asked the mother to please remove her child. She then started to borderline yell at me that her son wasn't hurting anything. At this point, I had to tell the child at the top to please wait. I had a back and forth with the mother explaining that it's for his protection and it was holding up the line. This went on for a while when finally other parents started to complain and shout while the line continued to back up. She yelled at me to just send the next kid down as her son would be fine and she would get him down. Cue the malicious compliance. The child who'd been waiting patiently at the top was significantly larger and was wearing jogging pants and socks. As soon as I signaled for him to come on, he jumped straight up and hit the slide with max velocity. Pretty sure he set a high speed record because by the time he hit the landing zone, he just skidded across the stop and hit the other child with his feet. This sent the little boy flying about 10 feet onto the pavement. I didn't say a word and neither did Karen. I just stared at her while she picked up her screaming child off the pavement and left. Anyway, I did feel bad for the child, but I hope Karen learned a valuable lesson. All right, let's unpack this absolute circus. First off, shout out to OP. You were just trying to do your job and keep the kids safe. And let's talk about the moment she told her kid to keep jumping despite being told why it was dangerous. Like, lady, you're literally arguing with someone trying to protect your child. The line builds up, everyone's annoyed, and she doubles down. Not funny for the kid, but, you know, Karen deserved the reality check. Let's hope she learned something. But honestly, Karen energy is... And our second story. I want a refund. So just happened. Just got home with this nightmare happening less than an hour ago. It's just past midnight and the gas station closed at 11. At 10:59, a guy comes darting in. I greeted him and joked that he was cutting it close. He asks what I meant and I explained we close at 11. I was locking the doors once I put this fan away. He says he just needs to use the restroom as he's paying at the pump for his truck's fuel. No biggie, I just do the usual and unlock the doors for him to leave through once he was done in the bathroom. I paid it no mind. Locked the doors, turned off the outdoor lights, went into the casino to collect tickets from our last stragglers so they could get their money and go home. By this point, it's 11:06. I go back to the register to cash their tickets out, and there's the guy with an armful of drinks and snacks unlocking the front doors to let more people in. Now, anyone with common sense knows you don't just unlock locked doors in a business you're a customer in. I immediately get their attention. Sir, it's past 11, the store's closing down, you can't unlock the doors. Please ask an employee first. And then to the peeps he's let in, the store closes at 11, we don't take customers after the doors are locked. I'm trying to be civil. Maybe it's a lapse of judgment because he's tired? No. Oh, they're with me. The people he let in outright ignored me as they went to the bathroom. Again, I explained that I had told him when he came in that I was locking the doors as we were closing down. He can't unlock doors without asking employees. Guy outright scoffed, I rolled at that, and then said he's paying for the stuff in his arms and that his friends are buying stuff as well. I reiterate that the doors were locked, we were done taking customers for the night, save those who were already in the store. He got posted because they were with him. Like, dude, that doesn't change the fact that they came in well after we locked up. Then he says that he won't buy anything. Fine, then he can leave and I can get back to the casino folks so they can leave. Nope, guy outright demands to have me extract all the fuel he'd put in his truck and give him a refund for it. I can't do that. I don't know any place that'll refund you for fuel already in your vehicle. He demands I call my manager. I told him I won't. It's past 11 and she opens. I'm not going to bother her this late when she has to be up early, especially not for something like this. But no, he keeps demanding to have the fuel removed and get his money back and that I call my manager. At this point, it's 11:15. At this point, I should have already been halfway done with my close list. A list I haven't even started yet because I've been arguing with him. I end up telling him that no, I cannot refund him for fuel in his vehicle and he can either leave willingly or I can call the cops. He left. One of my casino folks who'd been waiting on me decided to buy their drinks and give it to them so they wouldn't have a sour opinion of the store and said I ought to lighten up. But seriously, what kind of place lets you put back fuel you already put in the tank and give you a refund? Edit. Like the whole issue was that he was letting people in almost 10 minutes after closing without asking staff if it's cool to do so. I told him that I was locking the doors, and he said, hey, I got buddies who'll be coming in once we're done fueling, or asked if it was still fine for them to slip around after doors were locked. It would have been fine. How do people not understand that this stuff is in place for a reason? Insurance is likely tied to business hour and retail to reduce the total cost. After hours, the business may not be insured if a customer gets injured for any reason. I personally would have called the cops when he refused to leave for trespassing and told the casino person to mind their own business. And our last story. How our neighbor's tree trouble ended in yard justice. Our house is old. By North American standards, it's really old, older than the town itself and built nearly 200 years ago by a local merchant. Along with its age comes a large property, and while the boundaries have shifted slightly over time, the official town plan still dictates the exact property lines. As it happens, a chunk of what our neighbor thought was his yard was technically ours. This fact would become very important. Now let me introduce the key players. Paul, our neighbor, was the worst. He ran an illegal chop shop in his backyard, seemed to have a personal vendetta against trees, and took a predictable 2-week vacation every summer at the end of July. And then there was my dad. At the time, he worked in government oversight, but before that, he trained Crown attorneys, including attorneys general. He was low on the government hierarchy, but was highly respected and knew the law inside and out. If Dad said something was legal, you could bet money it was. The property line between us and Paul was pretty clear. Our side was grass, shrubs, and a beautiful Manitoba maple tree, while his side was a gravel driveway. The maple tree was old but healthy and provided perfect dappled light through our windows. We had no plans to remove it, just occasional trims when necessary. One day, Paul asked if he could trim some of the lower branches that sagged onto his driveway. Fair enough. We told him to get a professional landscaper and to quote, and we'd even pay for it. Problem solved, right? Wrong. A few days later, while we were out for the day, Paul took care of it. When we returned, Paul strutted over with a smug grin. Paul, no need to worry about the landscaper. I handled it myself. Red flags. Big red flags. We rushed to the backyard. The tree was gone. Not trimmed, completely cut down, and the stump was painted with some kind of gray substance that killed it for good. Nothing would ever grow there again. Furious, we confronted Paul. Dad, Paul, what the hell did you do? We said trim, not cut it down. Paul, smirking, oh, come on, it was in the way. I did you a favor. With no solid proof or evidence, we couldn't pursue legal action, but Dad wasn't one to let things slide. He began to plan. Dad's knowledge of property law came into play. He made calls to the town's civil architect, a few inspectors, and the landscaper Paul had planned to use for the original quote. He obtained the official town plan, which confirmed our property extended into what Paul thought was his. With everything prepared, Dad waited patiently for Paul's predictable summer vacation. As soon as Paul left, we got to work. Over 2 weeks, with the help of a contractor and landscapers, we expanded the fence, The new boundary moved almost 3 meters into Paul's yard, rearranged the landscaping. Shrubs and new plantings now clearly mark the revised boundary. Removed his gravel driveway. We dug it up and replaced it with fresh soil and grass. Planted a weeping willow, strategically placed so that its hanging branches would always shed into Paul's yard as it grew. Cleared the illegal chop shop. Because it was on our land and technically just scrap metal, we sold the entire operation to a local scrapyard. By the time Paul returned, his driveway was reduced to a narrow strip of pavement barely wide enough for a bicycle, and his beloved chop shop was gone. Paul stormed into his yard, jaw-dropping as he saw the changes. Dad, the civil architect, and a lawyer were waiting for him with a stack of documents. Paul, what the hell is this? You can't just take my yard. Dad, calmly, actually, Paul, this isn't your yard. The official town plan confirms this land is ours. Everything done here is 100% legal. Paul, you're going to regret this. I'll sue you. Lawyer, feel free to try, but the documents clearly show the legal property lines. You'll lose. Paul's face turned red, but he couldn't argue. His illegal activities, blatant disregard for boundaries, and entitled attitude had finally caught up with him. Paul had no choice but to accept the new reality. His driveway was useless. The willow tree's branches began to shed leaves and twigs into his yard, and his chop shop was gone for good. Meanwhile, we enjoyed our expanded yard, complete with a brand new fence and a healthy dose of well-deserved satisfaction. Okay, wow. So let's break this down. This dude, Paul, he's basically the final boss of bad neighbors, cuts down a tree he knew wasn't his, kills the stump like he's auditioning for a villain role, and then acts like he did a favor. Bold. Your dad is a legend. The man doesn't just get mad, he gets strategic. He finds out the land isn't even Paul's, expands the fence, plants a literal shade tree, love the petty touch with the weeping willow, and then shuts down Paul's illegal chop shop, all while staying 100% legal. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.